instead of refusing, I would have been more wonderful. And then Scunthorpe were meant to be this brilliant side who built a new stadium. And they said, well, you refused us a grant to build the stadium. So it turned out that the whole paper was entirely full of lies. Rather like all the other tabloids.
What was the bit with someone's red head being scraped with a thing? You know, okay.
That was Janet in makeup.
Thank you.
So you managed to get a copy of this, did you?
Yeah.
Because we did try to get a copy of Look, as it's called, but we sent a bike over, and by the time the bike got there, they refused us a copy. They said they weren't going to give us one anymore.
You dangerous subversive, you, I guess.
So we got one from the Labour office instead.
So what was the red thing with it?
What was it? He's warming up. He'll get there in a minute.
What was this bloody thing?
That was Michael Heseltine's head before he put the blonde wig on, before he put the hat on.
I can do the bullshit answer, but I'm just curious. It's a question, surely.
It's a piece of apparatus used in the milliner's business.
Oh, hat block. That's silent, Stu, hasn't it?
Looked like a red Martian being smoothed round for presenting to the Queen or something. We must smooth you, red Martian. It did. It looked like that. It looked very much like that. And I've seen that in an episode of I'm Bonkers.
Eddie and Janet.
Right.
It's that woman again.
And there she is, in
Princess
a pink
Di.
suit.
How to wash
Demonstrating
your
new
hands.
washing up liquid.
Lots of scissors in there. They've left a few in.
And what about her makeup and all that? You saw
Yeah,
little
she had
glimpse
earrings
of-
on and
Yeah, and Julia Carling
had
was
a go
rather
at that.
spiteful, yes, about... said
No,
she'd had
what
a-
did she say?
Well, actually, I tried to watch Julia Carling the other morning on that big breakfast. She's brain dead, isn't she? She looks like Twizzle or something.
It's shocking, isn't it, to think of somebody brain dead like Julia living with a massive intellectual like Will.
The only thing massive about him is his size. He's
Well,
got
no
the
wonder
biggest
Will
size
went
of
off
any
to
bloke I've
find
ever
someone really clever, like Diana. It's a bit ghoulish, though, isn't it? You wonder what Diana's going to do next, sort of road accidents. Let me through, I'm the Princess of Wales.
Doesn't she style herself now the Queen of Hearts? So I'd say there'll be, the next operation Queen of Kidneys.
Yeah.
Or if it's a vasectomy, I suppose she'd be Queen of Bollocks. So how long did it all take, do you remember?
43 years. But why was it filmed?
It was on Sky.
Because it was an in-depth
It's just sort of
documentary.
keepsake, a memento, so she could watch it in the
don't
evenings.
need it.
That's me at the heart. It's the surgeon there beside me. It was a great day.
Sky officials were worried whether it was right to film such a dangerous medical case, but they went ahead and filmed her anyway. Diana's experience of public appearances stood her in good stead as she made a primary incision with a large pair of scissors and said, "I now declare this patient open." Ian and Dermot, who's taking the strain here?
All right. I think this is a very complicated story. It's about the Eurotunnel. It's been losing money. Money hand over fist. That's it.
What's that?
What?
That bit.
Sometimes I hear strange voices.
Yeah, do you know how large their overdraft is, in fact?
Yes, it's 53 years.
Billions.
It's 900 million.
No, it's 9 billion.
It's 8 billion, actually. But
8 billion.
And do you know how long it's going to take to pay back?
53
years.
It's actually 57 years. You're not
Well, I knew.
Yeah,
that's close.
how long their concession is. to pay back.
Picky.
Well, the big joke about the Eurotunnel, because I went on the train to Paris last Friday, is that you crawl through the English countryside and then you get to Ashford International Terminal. Is that a contradiction in terms or what?
I would say the terminus here is better than the terminus in Gare du Nord. But the one here, it's really quite groovy.
Yeah, but it's going to be replaced.
By an elephant.
It's going to go to, no, it's going to St Pancras.
We're up against a pair of train spots.
Oh, I'm sorry, we are. It's an unexpected...
Well, I'm looking forward to when the terminus is replaced by an elephant, personally. when Chairman Sir Alistair Morton informed a meeting of shareholders that Eurotunnel is currently losing money at a rate of £29 a second, there was a stunned silence, during which they lost another £230. And finally, Eddie and Janet.
Oh, the Shane Richie experience.
Oh, and here's
Big
Parliament
Ben,
where
Parliament.
the divorce bill was
Yeah,
got
man
the
with
knockback.
They're not divorced,
Ginny
are they?
Rotten.
No, they're not.
Correct,
Oh,
yeah.
and Tammy Wynette, DOVO-RCE.
Divorce amendment.
Divorce amendment. So
Yes.
you've got to wait 18 months now.
18 months.
Good. And where did we see the bottom Liz?
Why not?
Did they vote on separate sides of the House in the vote? I can't remember.
Which voted for which, though?
She was for and he was against. Or the other way around.
You get the feeling that Eddie's on-screen shameless lobbying for easier questions last week have finally borne fruit. You know, Tammy Wynette, DIVO. Oh, what? I wonder what this question's about.
I'm sorry, we could have answered yours. We knew the answer to yours.
Dermot,
We knew
just-
far more about trains than you did. We should have had some of your points. I'm sorry, we didn't even get a bonus point for knowing more about trains than you did.
Sorry,
You knew more about trains than anyone.
It's a little known fact about me.
Listen,
Bit of a nerd deep
Jealousy's
down.
going to get you nowhere.
Yes, it is the government's shock defeat over Lord Mackay's divorce reforms. The government did succeed in introducing a no-fault bill so that when things go wrong, no one's to blame, an idea first tried out after the Scott report. which sweet sorrow brings us sobbing to the end of this initial conflict, and the situation is that, well, at this early stage, nothing can separate our two couples, both happily sharing 4 points. Well, in answer to the thousands of letters clamouring for it, round 2 this week features discarded footage of old regional news stories, a couple of obscure local news items that hopefully both teams missed. Eddie and Janet, who, where and why?
These are my people. They're ramblers. I'm president of the Ramblers Association, but I don't know this lot. They're obviously exercising a right of way.
Have you always rambled then?
I have, but spookily enough, I have.
Is there any idea which programme it was from?
Rambling Today.
No.
It's on The Word.
You're not going to get it. It was called Look West.
How would we answer
Guess
that
so.
if we live in London and we don't get Look West?
You'd have to be
you-
pretty
Anyway, at the
sad
moment-
to scour the annals of telly running around the country going, have you seen anything on your telly that might be used in the programme?
Yeah.
You'd have to be sick to know that.
You'd have to have time on your hands.
Well, we thought you might know about it because you were president of the Ramblers Association.
There's no point in just trying to humiliate me because I haven't seen Look West.
But you can
That
see
clip.
it probably on those roundups. You know, they're sort of 4 a.m. and someone rounds up bits of
Local
clippings,
news.
you know. And
If you go to up to Carlisle and you see Border Television and they have their every regional television station in Britain has these local news programmes, only about 6 or 6:30, and the one in Carlisle is just riveting.
That would be Look North Northwest.
Well, it's
Yeah.
look around, load of sheep, not doing much. It's drizzling again.
Is
From
the
school
competitive
dinner
rambling
crisis in Cockermouth. What? Sorry?
So, Janet was rambling. So.
Oh, yeah, I was all right.
It is the story, or was 15 minutes ago, the story that gripped viewers of Look West last year when militant ramblers.
Last year?
Last year, you just said it was
year.
last week.
Last year,
no,
we had
this
to
is-
watch that for a year to get that.
You fooled me. I
honestly
thought that
said-
story had to have happened in the last 7 days.
No.
Yeah, I thought
No, this is
topical.
archive footage of
Archive?
regional news stories.
Are you by any chance run by strange Martians with red heads that look towards the Queen?
Oddly enough, no. It is a story that gripped the nation last year when militant ramblers asserted their right to use an ancient footpath in Westbury, Wiltshire, even though a house was built on top of it without official planning permission. The couple who bought the house are now legally obliged to let anyone who wants to come straight through the front door. They say they don't mind the odd rambler wandering in, but it's hard to concentrate on the telly when the fox hunt comes through. Ian and Dermot, a more local scandal for you. What nightmare have these people shared?
We heard a whooshing and whistling sound and then a thud.
Well, as there was pieces on the floor and I was standing there in my bare feet, the smaller pieces started to defrost, and the smell that was coming from it wasn't particularly nice.
It's Kensington Palace, isn't it? That's one of the pieces from the operation that Di likes to bring home from time to time.
This has got to be an aeroplane story, hasn't it? one of those things where they've ejected the frozen excrement at a mile high, and it's gone through the atmosphere and gone whack into someone's home, and then started to defrost. And was it a whoop and a whistle? It's quite good hearing from a mile up. And there it is in your front room, sort of takeaway turd.
No, there is a term for it, actually. It's called blue ice.
Do you know anyone that shits blue turds?
Royalty. Michael Caine was in a movie called Blue Ice.
Blue
and
Ice.
That was shit as well.
Yes, well, it's actually on BBC1 in about 15 minutes.
Anyway, if anyone's complaining about the language, that four-letter word we're allowed to use now, because the Prime Minister used it
Oh, it's on the front
Last
page of the Sunday Express.
to describe our European partners.
That's 5
That
letters.
sounded like a sheep.
Now, any idea which regional news programme that came from?
Over the last 10 years?
Bearing in mind it was in Essex.
Good morning,
Anglian.
Thaxted.
Switch on Ipswich. Get up Colchester.
It's Look East, in fact.
Sorry about
Look
that.
East is the inspired.
Look
Look up would be far
Who
more.
comes up with these programme titles?
Why is it be looking? Because it could be in east looking west if you're right on the coast.
Train spotting skills are back.
It is Look East that it was
Look
on.
now.
Look West, it was in Wiltshire, and Look You, presumably in Wales. In 1995, blue ice fell on Mr. and Mrs. Palmer's house in Essex. The foul-smelling waste matter smashed through the roof and ended up in a bedroom used by their student son, where it remained unnoticed for 2 terms. A spokesman for the Civil Aviation Authority said, out of 3.5 million flights, this only happens about 12 times a year, which will come as great comfort, I'm sure, to the first person to be crushed to death by a half-ton lump of frozen shit. Which scatological fallout brings us skidding to the end of this regional roundup, and the resultant mess is that, well, neither side seem to have it in them, quite frankly, to assume responsibility for a lead, both clinging to 5.
Can I just ask? It happens 12 times a year. Poo goes into sky, but why? Did they say?
Whatever happened to the definite article? I wonder.
How can 12 times poo escape from? Where does it escape? Is there a hole where poo goes? Oh, we must tunnel. Poo. It makes no sense. The other thing was look east. Shouldn't be look east. It should be stand east and look every direction.
The answer to your question is it seeps out, by the way.
Seeps?
Yes.
How?
It seeps. I don't know how.
Do you mean if there's a
seeps
plane
out.
load of people who go a lot?
How can it seep? We can't have seepage. I mean,
That's the answer.
what? You got that through your earphone?
I don't have an earphone.
You don't have one.
I'm not David Coleman. I don't.
Seepage is not acceptable because it implies crack, and crack implies escape of air,
Right.
and people sucked out as well.
Okay.
You're on the loose.
I'll have a word. I'll see to it.
Seepage is no good.
Okay. Mathematicians amongst you will have worked out that this is our 3rd round. The one and thankfully only odd one out. Following his protestations about being given impossible questions last week, Eddie's simple foursome is William Shakespeare, the Queen, a Mayfly, and King Lot Kapu Aiwa Kamehameha the 5th of Hawaii.
Shakespeare liked trains. The Queen's really good at badminton. The Mayfly was the ship that first got to America with the founding fathers. And King Lot Tutankhamun was in charge of the guy who was in charge of Dano in Hawaii 5-0. It's birthdays.
In what way?
Thanks for that tip. Shakespeare birthday, sort of.
He had one, yeah.
Yeah, it's his anniversary.
The Queen birthday, 70th.
She has one.
Big
yes.
one coming up.
Last
The
summer.
Mayfly birthday, big party, friends round.
It's the anniversary of the Mayfly
anniversary.
coming to Britain.
And King
Really didn't have a
Tutankhamun, he got this guy and said, "Hey,
Book
you,
him, Dano.
book him."
But he was one of the guys in the boat, wasn't he? The ones going.
That's what he's holding. He's holding with a paddle.
Yes, thank you.
They're all Nazis. Except the Mayfly, who's an insect and cannot legally join the Nazi party. Look what I found under my desk. Anyway.
Is it birthdays last week? Queen's birthday last week, Shakespeare's birthday.
We said all that. Yeah,
Yeah, I know. I
Give us
just-
new material.
The Mayfly has
Can
a
we ever
birthday
go and
every
just
day.
repeat what you said?
Mayfly has a lifespan of a day. Every day is its birthday. And
Why?
it dies.
Clever.
Right.
24-hour lifespan. And wasn't it called the Mayflower, the boat?
I know, but I was doing comedy.
The answer is that all of them have died on their birthday, with the happy exception of Her Majesty the Queen, although as she has 2 birthdays a year, she is in twice as much danger. Janet.
Yes, Angus.
Janet, your media darlings are Jarvis Cocker, Gerry Adams, Martin Bell, and Spencer Perceval.
Spencer Perceval.
Yeah, he was a prime minister beginning of the 19th century. Topical news quiz.
Where do they get these questions?
I don't like this game.
This is so difficult. This is absolutely amazing.
Well, he is famous for one thing.
He was famous for grinning slightly.
Do you know who Spencer Perceval is? Or
Yes, he was shot. He was the only Prime Minister of England in our history who was shot.
the war.
Cocker wasn't
Lebanon.
shot. All the others were shot. Gerry Adams was shot, wasn't he?
Yeah, Jarvis
Yeah.
was half shot on the night in question.
But I'm going to give one to Ian because he's sort of in the right area. The answer is that they all wear bulletproof vests, with the exception of Spencer Perceval, who should have. Jarvis Cocker has bought a bulletproof vest for his tour of America because he's frightened of being shot by Michael Jackson fans. Although if this does happen, Michael Jackson has kindly offered to bring him back from the dead. Dermot, your wacky bunch of funsters are Luciano Pavarotti, Pope John Paul II,
Go for it.
David Icke, and George Carey.
Right. Well, could this be about it's women partners? Is it something like that? Because Luciano has a new woman in his life, as we all know, and Pope has been seeing Mother Teresa on a regular basis.
That'll go down well at home, won't it?
In actual fact, I think it's a footballing type story because David Icke was with Coventry as a goalkeeper for a while, and I think Luciano did a bit of goalkeeping in his time, and I think the Pope did a bit of the old custodian between the sticks himself, and so that's 3 goalkeepers. The odd man out is George Carey, who's right back with QPR this season.
Which, astonishingly, is the right answer. With one small detail which was wrong, which is actually that George Carey was left back. Pavarotti, you're right, was in the news recently for having left his wife after 35 years, who's said to be crushed. As a young man, the Pope played in goal where, after a particularly bad spell, he would sort out his defence with a special hand signal. You go up into midfield, you drop back, and you two stay wide on the wing. And finally, in this round, Ian. The nominations are Martin Bashir, David Vine, Eric Morley, and Michael Heseltine.
Martin Bashir just won a BAFTA for comedy best talk show for Panorama for his conversation with Princess Di. And he's the only one who won a BAFTA.
That's pathetic. That's
that
worse
your
than my answer.
All right, it's about rugby then. Martin Bashir used to present rugby programmes, why he was chosen to interview Princess Diana. It's true. It's not just mindless smut.
It's Martin Bashir, because he's not wearing anything around his neck. The others have got ties or a bow tie.
We normally make it slightly more difficult than that.
They all hang around mad blonde women. Heseltine was in Maggie's cabinet for years.
What about David
Bashir
Vine?
interviewed one.
No, you do know nothing about David Vine.
No, I don't.
We do, we just don't have to say it.
To do with blondes? Is it to do with Stephen Hendry? Oh, that'll be edited out.
Well,
Why?
we're intrigued now.
Is it to do? They've all had a relationship with a blonde, yeah. So so Princess Di.
Yeah, but what about the Stephen Hendry bit? She won't be drawn. Well, no, I think I may have to give you this one. The answer is that they've all interviewed Miss World, apart from Panorama's Martin Bashir, who, being a serious journalist, would never stoop to interviewing some blonde airhead about wanting to travel and work for charity. In 1963, Michael Heseltine interviewed Miss World in his former life as an ITV presenter, and unfortunately for him, footage still survives.
Oh, wow.
When you actually were walking in front of the judges, you were, first of all, you had an unusual swimsuit on, but did you have any other sort of tactics?
No.
The Miss World contest is still being produced in South Africa, although Eric Morley, the show's original creator, has fallen out with the new regime because, according to a spokesman, Mr. Morley felt himself too much behind the scenes. I think we understand what they meant. And so, before our panellists go off to change into evening wear, the scores so far, in reverse order, are that Eddie and Janet are current runners-up with 6, whilst Ian and Dermot are as good as crowned with 8. Well, time now for a round which anagram fanatics have come to know and love as the Missing Sword round. The usual tapestry of newspaper headlines interwoven with none or more from this week's guest publication, the indispensable fish-keeping answers. So, away we go with... Many beaches are what, says Guide?
Many beaches are poo, says Guy. Blue ice.
Near the sea.
Many beaches are cesspits, says Guy. Next, how to keep what warm?
Spawn. Frog spawn.
Yes, I realised that was what you were
Young fish.
Young fish, newts, no.
A goldfish is, in fact, the answer we weren't going to get. Heat the water is apparently the inspired suggestion, according to this month's fish-keeping answers. Next, Charles pushed into what?
Charles pushed into pie.
It's obviously... Well, sadly, it's marriage, isn't it?
Is the right answer. Next, Selena Scott's what upheld?
Brain cell.
Case.
So not just Julia Carling, then.
Complaint.
It's Selena Scott's claim upheld.
I was pretty close.
Claim? Did you say claim?
Yeah.
Okay, you can have the point. Eddie, I'm going to ask you that question again. Did you say claim?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. I heard
Well, this
him.
is worse than the Scott inquiry.
I heard him.
Man lies blatantly and let off.
Next, fetishists whip up what?
A souffle.
Whip up buttocks.
The 6th Freedom Drive is, in fact, the right answer.
You couldn't guess that in a
charming.
million.
I'm sorry, at the beginning of this,
years.
this is the first time I've ever been on this programme. I don't want to be pedantic, but I'm going to be pedantic. You said fill in the missing word, and there were 3.
This is actually known as the Missing Words round.
Yeah, but if you have one blank, we think one blank, and then you put 3 in.
Yeah.
And that is just
Absolutely correct.
The Nazis would have done that.
It's that beige suit.
It's,
You have an interesting view of that period of history.
No, I'm talking about modern Nazis.
Oh,
and
sorry.
It's
Yes.
they got less together now.
And they run game shows, do they?
Oh, you tell me.
And finally, all I want to do is what?
Is gob on you.
Is it Diana? All I want to do is help people.
Oh, yeah, all she wanted to do was help the charity and to
All I
raise
want
the
to do is
profile.
touch people's hearts.
Raise the
Literally.
profile of the charity. Understand
Was it
working-
Diana? Can you give us that one? Was
I can tell you that it wasn't, because the right answer is actually all I want to do is keep marine fish. Which consummate display of inadequacy brings tonight's contest not before time to an end, and the final reckoning shows that this week's blackheads are Ian and Dermot with 8, whilst this week's big heads are Eddie and Janet with 10. So an orange ice lolly to our winners, blue ice lolly to... on which plausible note, we say thank you to our panellists, Ian Hislop and Dermot Morgan, Eddie Izzard and Janet Street Porter, and I leave you with excellent news for the Guildford Women's Institute as God agrees to open the jumble sale. There are suspicions that an imposter may have sneaked into this year's annual general meeting of the Invisible Society. And in South Africa, the makers of the Wonder Bra say their latest advertising campaign has been more effective than even they had hoped. Good night.